So at the beginning of last year, I made a video going over the sneaker trends for 2023, and it was a ton of fun, so I decided to look into the crystal ball again for 2024. So we're going to be going over the best and worst sneaker trends for this year. So let's kick this off with Jordans. More specifically, let's kick it off with the Jordan 1. So over the past few years, the Jordan 1 has been the sneaker, right? It's been the most trending pair of shoes. Everybody had a pair. They were reselling for a ton. You couldn't buy a pair because they were so hyped up. You were looking at double or even triple the retail price of a pair of Jordan 1s. Well, finally, here in 2024, they're officially dead. Now, I want to preface that with a little bit of clarification because saying they're dead is a little bit more of a negative term. But honestly, I think most of us sneakerheads see this as a positive thing, or anybody who's a fan of the Jordan 1. It's been so hard to buy Jordan 1s for such a long time. So finally being able to get pretty much every single Jordan 1 that drops for retail or less it's nice. I said this before, but bar a couple pairs, every single Jordan 1 that dropped last year is now available under retail. And for this year, I see more of the same, and potentially to even more of an extreme than we saw last year. There really isn't many collaborations on the Jordan 1, at least of what we know of right now, and there doesn't even really seem to be that many standout colorways of the Jordan 1 upcoming this year. I mean, we have the reimagined black toes, that's a big one, but other than that, as of right now, what we know from leaks and rumors, it's not that much. It really does seem like Jordan Brand is kind of focusing their energy on the Jordan 4, which while we're here, let's talk about the Jordan 4. They kind of took the torch from the Jordan 1 over the past few years, becoming more of a hyped sneaker as opposed to the Jordan 1 holding all of the hype. And I will say that it kind of seemed like towards the end of 2023, the Jordan 4 silhouette seemed to be slowly dying down in hype, but I don't think that's going to be the case for 2024. In fact, I think it may be one of the biggest years for the Jordan 4 silhouette that we've seen in a while, with drops like the Bread 4 reimagines that are happening right around the corner, the military blue 4s, the Imam and Yer collaborations, and a ton of other really nice colorways that are all expected to drop this year. They're all probably going to sell out, and I just don't think that the hype for the Jordan 4 silhouette is quite over yet. But what does seem to be over is the trend for bulky sneakers. Okay, maybe not quite over, but certainly slowly phasing out. Big, giant shoes were really the focus point of a lot of different brands throughout 2023 and even as early back as 2022. Balenciaga with their ridiculously oversized steroid boots, Mischief with the big red boot and the yellow ones, and all of the other super oversized sneakers they've done. Even smaller brands like PDF with their puffer shoe all made sneakers that were almost comically big, way bigger than we had ever really seen sneakers before. Now, the examples I've just listed off with all of those are really the extreme case, but this trend of big shoes really trickled down into even the mainstream brands. But in 2024, I kind of see this slowly phasing out or dying down. And like a lot of trends, I think it's going to be replaced with the literal opposite. Small shoes, or just a smaller silhouette. We've already seen this trend kind of take place with like the Adidas Samba, which is one of the most popular sneakers right now. We're talking low-cut sneakers with just a very low profile, very small, and very form-fitting to the foot. Some other sneakers that are trending right now, the Adidas Gazelle, the Onitsuka Tiger. All of these sneakers are the complete antithesis of a pair of shoes like the steroid boot or like the Mischief Super Baby. You could even make an argument for the new Yeezy sock shoes, which recently released. While I can't exactly say that those are going to be the new trend, because like most things that Yeezy does, it takes a while for people to kind of catch on to it. But Balenciaga is also bringing out an almost identical pair of sock shoes as well. So I definitely think it's worth mentioning because these two brands, Balenciaga, Yeezy, do have a lot of power when it comes to upcoming trends. So who knows, we may see a sock shoe trend, which would be very interesting. In fact, I'd love to know your thoughts on that down in the comments. Next up, I want to talk about a pair of shoes which very recently exploded, and that is the Timberland 6-inch boot. Timberland boots, the absolute classic that has seen a massive resurgence very recently, and I can see this really taking over in 2024 as well. Most of what this trend is all surrounding the classic wheat colorway of the 6-inch boot, but that also includes the all-over black pair or the freaking Krispy Kreme glazed ones. Now, we've also seen some pretty solid collaborations, like the Cold Wool one, which I even picked up the triple black colorway. I thought it was phenomenal. We also just got our first looks at the Pharrell Williams Louis Vuitton collaboration that they're going to be doing, and I know just as soon as that drops, it's instantly going to trickle down into a Timberland pandemic. I think the LV collab is definitely going to get the ball rolling for other collaborations that may come about on the Timberland boot, and maybe maybe introduce some different ideas to the model that we haven't seen yet. Honestly, I don't think it's the worst trending pair of shoes that we could see. I mean, they're great quality, very well made, so at least you know you're getting a solid product. I would definitely expect the Timberland to be in the conversation more and more over the course of this year. Now, next up, we're actually talking about an entire category, which I think is going to get bigger and bigger in 2024, and that is performance basketball sneakers. So yeah, not your Jordan Retros, which are like now just made to be worn casually. Now, I don't necessarily think that this trend is going to be massively mainstream, but it's definitely a trend, and a very popular one at that. I mean, we've just got Fear of God Athletics with their new and first collection after a long wait of 3 years. Their main flagship sneaker is a performance basketball model, which people did seem to really like. We're going to be getting plenty more in the pipeline from that Fear of God collaboration as well. The huge resurgence of the Nike and Kobe line, which is literally peppered throughout this year. Tons of new Kobe sneakers that we can expect to be dropping. The Puma and LaMelo Ball collaboration was super successful, and I see that continuing this year. The Drake Nocta Glide, a ton of performance basketball DNA in that pair of sneakers, which arguably is regarded as the best sneaker that came out of the Nocta collaboration. And I think a huge upcoming pair for this category is Devin Booker's first signature sneaker, the Nike Book 1. This pair literally kind of merges both lifestyle and performance basketball into one shoe, which I think is only going to elevate the entire performance basketball line so much more, and potentially something that we see a lot more with other future collaborations. Definitely some dope stuff coming, but I want to completely switch lanes and let's move on to Crocs. Let's talk about Crocs for a minute. Crocs has had a massive couple of years. Like, I'm talking, they literally took their entire brand image and just 180'd that into a completely different outlook. Now Crocs, instead of being the uncool thing that your dad wears or your grandparents, it's now the it shoe. Everybody has a pair of Crocs. I think they managed to do this mainly through insanely creative collaborations. Shrek, the Cars movie, Mischief, they've done some pretty wild stuff, and I think it's definitely an accomplishment. So can they continue this in 2024? Well, honestly, I don't think so. Or at least they can't stay as hyped as they currently are or were in 2023 and 2022. Now look, people will definitely still wear Crocs because they're practical and above all super comfortable. I mean, they've put out so many collaborations, it kind of feels like we've seen it all. Now, I could be wrong, and they could drop something that's even crazier to what we've seen, and hey, the new Soleil Bembury shoe that we're supposed to be getting could take off and carry the brand. But honestly, the way that things are going now and how it looks with like one of their most popular collaborations that they have, which is the Soleil Bembury Crocs Pollux, those things used to sell out and like resell for double the price, sometimes even triple. Now you can pick those things up pretty easily. Some colorways even under retail. Yeah, I think it'll be super interesting to see what Crocs does, but honestly, I do think that the hype is going to decline here in 2024. All right, next up, I think we need to talk about Yeezy and Adidas, because at the time of recording, it's pretty unclear whether Adidas is going to decide to either drop all of these Yeezys that they have in their warehouse or just destroy them. As we all know, the collaboration ended in 2022, and throughout 2023, what really kept this collaboration alive to some degree was the fact that Adidas had all of this leftover stock, and they decided to do 2 massive releases at least in 2023. But if I had to guess, Adidas is probably going to be leaving that in 2023 and not going to be dropping the rest in 2024. Now, I could be wrong because Adidas does have a lot of Yeezys stuck in their warehouse, just sat around, but they have indicated that they are considering that option of just getting rid of them, writing all of these Yeezys off instead of actually releasing them. So honestly, what it's looking like as of right now is that it's kind of done with. You know, they're not going to be dropping anymore in 2024. You know, Kanye's moving on with his own sneakers, his own clothing line. Adidas is moving on to new collaborations. I do think that people will definitely still be wearing Yeezys, but there's nothing new and exciting to keep people interested. I think over the next few years, Yeezy and Adidas sneakers will become more and more scarce and hard to come by. I mean, there is still a ton in circulation. I mean, most of the popular shoes from last year, a lot of them were Yeezy slides and foam runners. It'll be a while before we stop seeing people wearing Yeezy. But yeah, it honestly will be very interesting to see what Adidas decides to do at the end of the day. And hey, if there's any updates on that entire situation, I will let you know. All right, time for one that I think a lot of people are questioning whether the hype is going to continue this year or not. That's my man Travis Scott. Travis Scott has had literally the most hyped sneakers you could possibly get your hands on for quite a few years now. And the most hyped, most sought after being the Jordan 1 collab collaboration. But this year, Jordan and Travis are moving a little bit differently by starting with dropping one of the wildest colorways we've ever seen on a Travis Scott Jordan collab. He's also dropping his all-new sneaker model, the Jumpman Jack, which is actually his first signature sneaker with Jordan Brand. I think people are definitely looking at this Jumpman Jack sneaker and thinking to themselves, is this going to be the new Jordan 1 or the next Travis trainer? So even though Travis Scott is coming off of the back of two of the worst collaborations in my opinion, I still think people are going to be going crazy for his sneakers this year. Got the olive Jordan 1s dropping during the fall time. They're very similar in colorway to the original one, so I think people are going to go absolutely nuts for those. I think the canary colorway will end up being the least hyped and most attainable pair out of the entire lineup, and I think the Jumpman Jacks will be just fine. In fact, I think they'll do pretty well. I think it's kind of what people want to some degree, like something a little bit new, something that they haven't seen yet. We've seen a lot of different Jordan 1s, both the highs and the lows, but this is something truly refreshing. I think it's enough of a change from a regular Jordan 1 to keep people really interested, and from the colorways that we've seen, because they kept a lot of them relatively close to what we've seen Travis Scott drop in the past, people will definitely be interested. But we're gonna have to wait and see. That new sneaker model does drop this springtime, so it'll be very interesting to see how people feel about them. I'm honestly pretty excited. Let me know what you think of my picks, and also what do you think will become the next it thing, the next trend this year?